Machiavelli discovered a truth in Renaissance courts that still controls your life. Every time you react, you lose. He wrote in The Prince that those who can be read can be destroyed. And he was right. You've handed them the blueprint of your interior. You showed them exactly where you're vulnerable, and now they own you. Here's the cost you never calculated. Every visible emotion is intelligence you're giving away for free. Your anger tells them what you fear. Your defensiveness tells them where you're weak. Your enthusiasm tells them what you'll chase. You're an open book in a world full of readers who don't wish you well. You felt this. Someone says something in a meeting. A slight, a dismissal, a carefully placed insult disguised as a question. Your face shifts before you can stop it. Your jaw tightens. Your eyes narrow. And in that half second, everyone at the table learned something about you. They learned where you're soft. They learned what buttons to push. They harvested your data and you didn't even charge them for it. This is the transaction happening in every confrontation. They throw bait, you bite. They collect. This isn't a new game, it's just a new arena. Machiavelli understood this principle of virtù in the courts of Renaissance Italy. The prince who can be read can be destroyed. The man whose face reveals his mind has already surrendered the war before the first move is made. This isn't about suppressing emotion, it's about weaponizing silence. It's about becoming the one thing power cannot defeat. The mind that cannot be mapped. When someone can trigger you, they own you. This isn't philosophy, it's mechanics. The moment your face changes, your voice rises, your body tightens in response to their words. You've handed them the controls to your nervous system. You've demonstrated that their input produces predictable output. You've become a machine they know how to operate. This is a form of slavery that requires no chains. The Renaissance courts were laboratories of psychological warfare. The most sophisticated poker games ever played, where the chips were cities and the losers were executed. Florence, Milan, Rome, Venice. These weren't just cities, they were arenas where a single visible emotion could mean political death. Ambassadors studied the micro-expressions of princes the way generals study terrain. A flicker of interest when a particular name was mentioned, a slight tension when a treaty was discussed. These tells were cataloged, shared, weaponized. Machiavelli wasn't merely a writer observing from the sidelines, he was a diplomat for Florence, sent to negotiate with kings and popes, required to keep his face perfectly still while Cesare Borgia, son of Pope Alexander VI, the man who murdered his own allies, stared across the table looking for weakness. One visible reaction could have meant Florence's destruction. One flinch could have invited invasion. This is where Machiavelli learned that the unreadable face isn't a personality trait, it's a survival skill. He watched princes rise and fall for decades. He noticed a pattern that never failed. Rulers who displayed anger became targets for provocation. Their enemies would bait them into rash decisions. Those who showed fear invited immediate aggression, as wolves always chase what runs. And those who revealed joy exposed what they valued most, handing their enemies a list of what could be taken from them. The predictable were eliminated. Always. Understand what you're actually giving away when you react. You're not just showing emotion, you're surrendering leverage. You're abandoning strategic position. You're broadcasting your vulnerabilities to anyone patient enough to watch. A single visible reaction creates a map. Your enemies don't need to interrogate you. They just need to observe you over time. Every flinch, every flash of irritation, every moment of visible anxiety. These are coordinates. Plot enough of them and they know exactly how to navigate your destruction. Consider Cosimo de Medici. In 1433, his rivals in Florence, the Albizzi faction, had him arrested, convicted, and sentenced to exile. The moment came in the Palazzo Vecchio. His enemies watched from the balconies, waiting for the crack in his composure. They expected rage. They expected pleading. They expected the visible collapse of a man who'd lost everything he'd built. Cosimo gave them nothing. His face didn't change when the sentence was read. His voice didn't waver when he spoke. He displayed no bitterness, no grief, no desperation. His enemies searched his expression for something, anything they could use, and found only a wall they couldn't read. His composure unnerved them. His silence drove them into paranoid overreach. They couldn't interpret his calm, so they invented conspiracies that didn't exist. Meanwhile, his rivals celebrated openly. They made speeches about their victory. They displayed their triumph to the entire city, showing Florence exactly how much they'd wanted Cosimo destroyed, how personal their vendetta had been. Within a year, Florence turned on them. The city grew suspicious of men who seemed so eager to celebrate another man's ruin. The Obizi's visible emotion, their gloating, their satisfaction, revealed the pettiness of their motives. Cosimo's silence, by contrast, made him appear wronged, noble, dangerous in a way they couldn't define. He returned from exile in triumph, eventually earning the title Pater Patriae, Father of the Fatherland. His enemies were the ones who fled. Now consider the opposite, a man who failed this protocol and was destroyed by his own reactivity. Girolamo Savonarola rose to dominate Florence through sheer emotional intensity. He preached with fire, orchestrating the infamous bonfire of the vanities in 1497, where he publicly burned books, artworks, and symbols of vanity. He wept publicly, raged against his enemies from the pulpit. His passion was his power, until it became his prism. When the Pope moved against him, Savonarola couldn't control his responses. He attacked when he should have calculated. He displayed fear when he should have shown indifference. His enemies learned exactly how to provoke him, exactly what accusations would make him unravel. They baited him into overreach, then watched him destroy himself. He was hanged and burned in the Piazza della Signoria, the same square where he once held absolute power. The man who preached with fire died by fire. His own element consumed him. Two men. One showed nothing and ruled for 30 years. One showed everything and burned. Once you see reactivity as intel, you can never give it away again. Now we go into the architecture. Machiavelli called it the art of appearing. What Robert Greene would later echo in the 48 Laws of Power, the same principle of strategic opacity that transcends centuries. This isn't about becoming emotionless, that's impossible and undesirable. This is about becoming the architect of what's visible, the deliberate constructor of the mask the world is permitted to see. Dissimulation means strategic opacity. It's the intentional separation between what you feel and what you display. Your interior life is yours alone, and access to it must be earned, not demanded. Think of yourself as a black box. If they can't see inside, they can't predict you. And what can't be predicted can't be controlled. Your opacity is your sovereignty. Your unreadability is your fortress. When they look at you and see only what you've chosen to show them, they're forced to guess. Guessing creates hesitation. Hesitation creates mistakes. Mistakes create your advantage. Machiavelli understood that virtue's strategic excellence in the face of fortune's wheel required this mastery over one's visible self. While fortuna could strike anyone, the prince who revealed nothing gave luck no handhold. Here's how to build the mask in real time. First, the pause. Before you respond to any provocation, create space. 3 seconds of silence breaks the reactive loop, and there's a biological reason this works. When you're provoked, your amygdala fires before your prefrontal cortex can intervene. This is the hijack your emotional brain responding before your strategic brain can calculate. The 3-second pause isn't meditation. It's a tactical interruption of your own neurology. It gives your higher brain time to override the animal reflex. It signals that their words don't produce automatic output, that you're not a machine they can operate. Second, the neutral face. Your enemies are watching for micro-expressions, the half-second flinch, the slight eye widening, the almost imperceptible jaw clench. These happen faster than conscious thought. To defeat them, practice what I call the horizon gaze. When provoked, fix your eyes on a point slightly above the other person's head, as if seeing something distant beyond them. This diffuses the intensity of eye contact that triggers defensive responses. It makes you appear contemplative rather than reactive, a surface so still that anything projected onto it slides off. Third, the measured response. When you do speak, speak slowly. Speak less than they expect. Deliver information rather than emotion. Let the weight of your restraint communicate more than your words ever could. Machiavelli was explicit in both The Prince and the Discourses. A prince must learn to act against his feelings, not to deny them, to choose when and how they're revealed. Your feelings belong to you. The decision to display them is separate. The display itself is a strategic act. Consider Cosimo's return to Florence. He entered the city without fanfare, no processions of triumph, no speeches of vindication, no visible satisfaction at the destruction of his enemies. He simply returned. Calm, measured, opaque. His enemies had prepared defenses against a man seeking visible revenge. When Cosimo gave them neither rage nor gloating, they had no move left. Their strategies collapsed because they were built on predictions that didn't materialize. His restraint made him untouchable. Here's the common mistake. confusing dissimulation with dishonesty. This isn't lying. You're not presenting false information. You're simply not presenting information at all. You're exercising sovereignty over your own data. Honesty doesn't require transparency. You can be truthful without being readable. The mask isn't a lie. The mask is a door, and you hold the key. The world respects what it cannot move. When you master non-reactivity, something shifts in every room you enter. People sense that you can't be pushed. They feel the weight of your stillness. They recognize, without being able to articulate it, that you operate by rules they can't access. You become a gravitational center. Watch what happens when you refuse to react. Others become uncomfortable with the silence. That discomfort is pressure, and pressure makes people talk. They begin to over-explain. They justify themselves without being asked. They fill the void you've created with confessions you never demanded. Silence is a vacuum, and people feel compelled to fill it with their own secrets. This is the power of the unanswered question. When someone asks you something provocative, and you simply look at them, 3 seconds, no reaction, no rush to respond, you're not just being calm. You're asserting dominance. You're communicating that their question doesn't control your timing, that you'll answer when you decide to answer, if you decide to answer. That pause rewrites the hierarchy in real time. This is the predatory application of non-reactivity. You don't interrogate, you simply wait. You don't demand, you simply observe. And in your stillness, others reveal themselves completely, desperate to provoke some response that never comes. They begin seeking your approval, your permission, your acknowledgement. And in seeking, they submit. This is the inversion of power that silence creates. The reactive man chases. He responds to every stimulus, lets the world set his emotional agenda. He's always behind, always defending, always off balance. The sovereign observer waits. He lets others exhaust themselves against his stillness. He treats every provocation as a test of his fortress and passes every test by refusing to engage. Machiavelli's final instruction from the Discourses: the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. Therefore, one must be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Both roles require silence. The fox is silent to observe. The lion is silent because he doesn't need to roar. His presence is enough. Cosimo ruled Florence for 30 years, not through force, not through violence, through the perception that nothing could shake him. His enemies couldn't read his satisfaction, his concern, or his plans. Because they couldn't read him, they couldn't strategize against him. This is the ultimate form of power, existing beyond prediction. The moment you master your visible reactions, you become ungovernable. No one can manipulate what they can't see. No one can exploit what they can't predict. No one can control what they can't read. This is the Machiavellian inheritance. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is the ultimate strategic position. The architecture of sovereignty. The foundation of power that can't be taken because it can't be found. You've spent your life giving away intelligence for free, reacting on command, letting the world see exactly where you're vulnerable. That era is over. From this point forward, you are the black box. You are the fortress. You are the sovereign mind that observes, calculates, and acts, never reacts. Subscribe if you haven't. We're building a sanctuary for those who refuse to be moved. Your face belongs to you. The world has lost permission to read it.